I tried writing this one out, and I've actually shot this video multiple times trying to talk about this, and every time I do it, I don't like it. Yet it's something that I think needs to be said, so I'm trying again here. The problem with nutrition. There's a quote, I believe it's Margaret Mead, and the quote goes something along the lines of, "It's easier to change a man's religion than to change his diet." The problem with nutrition, or you could interchangeably just throw in the word diet, but the problem with nutrition is that it is a religion now. That's exactly where we are. Like, you want to know why people are so screwed up? You want to know why, no one knows what to eat? It's because nutrition is a religion. It's not a science. Oh, you're not a vegan. Well, now you're not part of my group, so you're a piece of shit and I hate you. And, oh, you're not keto? What do you mean you're not keto? You're not part of our group. You're not carnivore? I mean, shit, you now have the keto and carnivore people fighting with each other. Really? I'm carnivore. You're keto. But you're a piece of shit because you sometimes eat vegetables. It makes me wonder to myself. I really don't get it. Dr. Mark Hyman gets a ton of negative feedback, and he gets attacked constantly because he believes in this thing called paganism. It's basically the paleo diet combined with veganism, right? And he's essentially saying that you should eat a largely plant-based diet, just unprocessed plant-based diet. So it's plant-based, whole foods. And the vegans hate him. They're like, oh, he's a piece of shit. I hate him. He's a bad person. How dare he tell people to eat unprocessed vegetables instead of processed vegetables? It's like, holy shit. How much more nuanced can we get this? You have a person who's already promoting veganism, but you hate them because they're talking about eating vegetables and fruits instead of eating, white bread. What? It's like the paleo people. The paleo people are like, oh, you had a potato. That's terrible. That's not paleo. You had rice. That's not paleo. Cavemen wouldn't have eaten rice. Dude, cavemen would have eaten fucking bark. Similarly, this whole carnivore and keto thing, right? The carnivores are over here going, oh, I can't believe that you would eat coconut oil. That's bad for you. It's a plant. I can't believe you put avocado oil or macadamia oil on something. That's bad for you. It's a plant. And it's like, I feel like this is like Catholics and Protestants fighting each other. But didn't we deal with this a long time ago, where Christians against Christians, fighting over something? I don't have any religious views or political views to share with you guys on these things, because I really don't give a shit what other people think. I know what I think, and I don't think that my opinion matters. I don't think my opinion on anything's going to change your mind. If I tell you I believe in God or I don't believe in God, I don't think it's suddenly going to make you be like, you know what? If he believes in God, I believe in God too. I don't think it works that way. But I do think that there's a real problem in nutrition, and I feel like we need to stop and recognize that this is getting ridiculous. How dare you eat fish oil? Don't you know it's a polyunsaturated fatty acid? It's like, holy shit. People, it's just food. I can't say that enough times. It's just food. It's just food. It's just food. It's just food. Chill the fuck out. If you don't know the history of this stuff, then really, don't even talk to me about what you think on these things. It's like people want to talk about calories and counting calories, and it's like, you don't even know who Lulu Hunt Peters is. So you're preaching a concept that you don't even know where it came from. If you don't know who that is, go read her book. It'll change your mind about some things. Maybe calorie counting isn't a good thing. Where did the 1,200 calorie myth come from? You should only be eating 1,200 calories a day. Guess what? It came from Lulu Hunt Peters. And if you read her book, it is very clear that that woman has a serious eating disorder. Had a serious eating disorder. Okay, you're supposed to feel hungry all the time, and if you feel the pain of hunger in your stomach, know that you're doing the right thing. It's a moral thing. It's morality. It's a sin for you to eat. Don't you know? Gluttony, greed, it's a sin for you to eat. Being fat is a moral failure. That's a terrible concept, and yet that's exactly where all this came from. It came from this crazy fucking woman who took a concept from physics, calories. Calories were not used to describe food. Calories were something from physics. And then used it to convince people that somehow you're a moral failure if you eat food. People, it's just food. It's just food. I can't say it enough times. It's just food. Stop being bizarre about this. And I'm going to go ahead and call out the vegans here. And if you're a vegan, I want to extend the olive branch to you and say to you, perhaps don't take the approach that you're currently taking. This whole thing of like vegans messaging people and being like, fuck you, I hate you, I hope you die, can't believe you eat animals, I hope someone comes along, kills you and eats you. That's not effective. That's not a good way to get people to get on board with your idea. When has that ever worked? When has someone ever shamed you into something and you were like, oh gosh, that person seems completely reasonable? You know? I play guitar, I play piano, right? If someone came up to me and they're like, you piece of shit, fuck you for playing guitar. Don't you know you should be playing violin or you should be playing cello? I would not sit there and be like, you know what, this person seems completely reasonable. That's a great point. I'm going to give up playing guitar and take up playing the violin instead. Like, I would not look at that. Like imagine in any other context at all, okay? Pick something. You like to play, I don't care, backgammon. And someone came up to you and was like, you piece of shit, oh, I can't believe you fucking play backgammon. What a horrible person you are. Don't you know you should be playing chess? Do you really think that you'd stop and be like, you know what, this person seems completely rational. That's a great point. I am a piece of shit. I should stop playing backgammon and take up chess instead. Like, that does not work. Why is that the way people behave? There are entire YouTube channels that are dedicated to just saying horrible things about people and wishing death upon people for what they eat. Please, go have some Ben & Jerry's. You'll feel better. Have some donuts. Go to Dunkin' and get some donuts and maybe have some Krispy Kreme too. I don't care. I'm not brand specific. You know, oh, how dare you eat Krispy Kreme? Don't you know Dunkin's the better donut? But that's where we are. Like, that's genuinely where we are. And that's why nutrition research is all trash. Like, it really is. It's just trash. Like, you look at these people and it's like every study this guy comes out with says that plant-based diets are best. And every study this guy comes out with says that, you know, I don't give a shit, whatever the fuck it is, low-carb diets are best. And every study this guy comes out with says that, you know, low-fat diets are best. And is it weird that you would get the same outcome for every study? It's almost like you designed your study to get an outcome rather than actually evaluating a hypothesis. Not that anyone would ever do that. But we do that all the time. We rig studies, you know, and we have really shitty methodology that leads us to being able to extrapolate data and manipulate the data to a point where we can make it look like, oh yes, I managed to prove my hypothesis, which is not how science works. Science is supposed to work. Well, this is how science works, unfortunately, but it's not right. The way that science is supposed to work is you have a hypothesis, and then you actually try to prove yourself wrong. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have an idea and say, oh, I have this idea. And then you do everything you can to prove yourself wrong. You're going to test it. That's what you do. You test your hypothesis and try to prove it wrong. But instead, what we have today is you have a hypothesis, and then you find a way to manipulate a study and design it intentionally so that you can support your idea and prove yourself right. You know, believe me, I've been there. I've been there. I have been in a variety of labs. I have been at a variety of schools. And I have seen it firsthand, and I have actually been kicked out of labs because I spoke up and said something about the study being done, like, hey, this isn't right. And that was the end of my time there. I'm not joking. I wish I was. I can tell you, I actually can't tell you. I had to sign NDAs for certain things. So I can't tell you with any specifics, but what I can tell you is that I have seen it. I've been there. And that's why nutrition is garbage at this point. It's a religion. It's not a science. No one's evaluating it critically. No one's being scientific about it. It's just, let me prove myself right. Oh, and by the way, I have this thing I sell. You know, it's like, you look at some of these longevity researchers and they're like, yes, this thing I just so happen to sell, that's what you need. Be sure to try it. Here's my link. I'm not one to jump on a conflict of interest here. I mean, certain things do need to be funded by companies. I mean, just because you see a study on some drug that's funded by a pharmaceutical company doesn't mean that that necessarily is a biased study. Somebody has to fund these things. However, it does seem odd sometimes when one of the researchers happens to be the person who owns the corporation or happens to own the patent on what they're selling. That's one of those moments where you might want to stop for a second and ask a question. It's one thing if, funding was provided by blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to name anything specific, but you guys can go ahead and fill in the blanks with whatever corporation you can think of. It's very different whenever the person doing the study suddenly also has a very strong financial interest in this study producing a favorable outcome. That's not exactly blinded, is it? You'll notice that a lot of these studies aren't double-blinded, and you'll notice that a lot of these studies actually don't tell you anything. They're like proof of concept, but yet we present it like it's evidence of, I don't know, this thing actually works. I'll point out to you guys, one of my favorite things to talk about is creatine. I'm not going to tell you what to do with creatine, but I will tell you Cochrane reviews are considered to be the gold standard. And if you want to learn about creatine, you should go ahead and read some of the Cochrane reviews on creatine, and then you can decide for yourself, based on the Cochrane reviews, whether or not you think creatine is worth the money. I will tell you, you'll be surprised by the outcomes. And they examine creatine in a variety of conditions, whether it's neurological or muscular, mitochondrial, you name it. Cochrane reviews have, I don't even know how many. There are many reviews of different applications of creatine monohydrate, and if you read those, you may change your mind. But I don't care, because it's just like I said in a previous video. Try it. See if you feel great. If you feel great, take it. I don't care. I don't even care if it's a placebo effect. If a placebo effect lets you put 5 pounds on your squat, hey, that's 5 pounds on your squat. Okay? But what I am trying to express to you guys here is that we cannot have these discussions anymore about nutrition from a scientific level because no one wants to have those discussions. It just turns into this tribal bullshit. So if I sat here and I told you, hey, if you look at linoleic acid and you compare it to stearic acid, right, and we've got these carbons and this one gets metabolized this way and this one gets metabolized that way, some person will inevitably jump in and be like, well, stearic acid is found in meat, therefore it's poison. And so it all just turns into bullshit. Like, it all just turns into bullshit. Basically, people cherry pick what they want. They have a bias, and then they only talk about the studies that they like. They don't like to talk about the studies that show the opposite. And then it's just trash. So is it any surprise that people don't know what to eat? Is it any surprise that people have orthorexia? Is it any surprise that people have eating disorders in general? All this weird moral crap about what you eat. I mean, I got so much weird feedback and comments from people because I had a sandwich with my dad. My dad's dying of cancer, and we were talking about how when I was a kid, we used to go to Permane Brothers and get a sandwich together. And it was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get another sandwich. Like, one last sandwich with my dad. And people sent me messages, and they were like, what are you doing? Don't you know that's unhealthy? You're eating French fries on a sandwich. What? I can't believe you would do that. Aren't you supposed to be healthy? That's not keto. That's not carnivore. That's not paleo. You're eating French fries and coleslaw on a sandwich. Yeah, I had ice cream with my dad too. Like, fuck off. I don't know what else to say. Like, you know what? Like, I'm going to have a cup of coffee with my wife. Don't you know that coffee's a plant? It's bad for you. Fuck you. Like, this is not some moral failure. Jesus Christ. And that's like, I think that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that we act like it's some kind of moral failure that you eat X, Y, or Z. Did you ever stop and think maybe people can't afford to eat something? People are like, whoa, I eat nothing but steak. Dude, I can't fucking afford nothing but steak. People are like, oh, you need to use the link in my description. Buy Piedmontese beef. I can't afford Piedmontese beef. Who the fuck can afford that shit? ButcherBox, use my affiliate link, blah 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 blah. You get a 10% discount. 10% discount. Dude, I'm at Walmart buying fucking 70/30 beef because it's the cheapest shit I can find. I'm at Super One buying 70/30 beef because it's the cheapest shit I can find. Like, I'm not gonna pay $12 a pound for meat. Who can afford that? That's ridiculous. Like, and what, you're going to judge someone because they can't? Oh, what do you mean you can't afford organic, grass-fed, free-range beef from cattle that have been massaged daily? Yeah, whatever. Who the hell are you? You going to buy my groceries for me? Tell you what, if you buy it for me, I will eat it. There's my offer. If you buy it for me, I will gladly eat it. So if you want me to eat nothing but, grass-fed beef from organic farms where the cattle get a daily massage from a Swedish masseuse, and then they get to spend time under a red light and who knows whatever other bullshit they get. Yeah, you buy it for me, I'll eat it. Until you're paying for my groceries, until you're paying for my food, I don't really care what your opinion is on what I eat. And as I've said before, you guys can go ahead and quote me on this. It doesn't matter what is on your table, it matters who is at your table, because food is also a social thing. Okay? It is not a moral failure. This has gone too far. We need to stop treating food like it's like food, nutrition, diet, etc. It's not a religion. And you're free to change your mind at any time. Just because I do keto for a couple months doesn't mean that I can't go ahead and do a high carb diet for a couple months. I talk about periodizing your nutrition to match your training. Well, how many carbs do I need to eat whenever I'm just in a strength block where I'm doing nothing but heavy singles? I don't need a whole bunch of carbs. So I don't eat a whole bunch of carbs because I don't need them. If I'm doing some training phase where I have a ton of high level sprinting, I'm doing a whole bunch of sprint work, then yeah, I am going to eat carbs because I eat to fuel my training. Like, it only makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you put the proper fuel in the tank for the thing that you're doing? That just seems obvious to me, but I don't know. It's like, we gotta stick to this religious thing. How dare you eat carbs? How dare you eat fat? This is ridiculous. We need to stop this. I'm ranting at this point because it really does make me frustrated that people attack other people. I see it all the time. People attack other people for what they eat. And it's like, you're just contributing to the problem. You're part of the problem. You're going to cause people to develop orthorexia. You're going to cause people to develop an eating disorder. And really, I don't think you're helping anyone by trying to make them feel bad. I don't think shaming people for what they eat is helping anyone at all. So, there you guys have it. If you like this, like the video. You watched like almost 20 minutes now. If this resonates with you and you feel the same way, that yes, nutrition should not be a religion and it's not a moral failure for you to eat, like the video. If you disagree, if you think it is a moral failure to eat food, go ahead and comment below. Tell me why you should starve yourself. What's the longest you've ever fasted voluntarily? 10 days? 15 days? Did you do it in a house full of food? It's a biological imperative to eat. At some point, you're going to get hungry and you're going to eat, just like how you can only stay up for so long before you will fall asleep. You can try to stay awake, but at some point, you are just going to fall asleep. Well, if you're in a house surrounded by food and you're just voluntarily fasting, at some point, you're probably going to crack. You're going to crack, you're going to binge, you're going to eat. You can hear all these bodybuilders talking about how, oh man, as soon as the show was over, I ate cheesecake and ice cream and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because hunger is a real thing. Just like how being sleepy is a real thing. It's not a moral failure. Your body needs food, your body needs sleep. Your body needs water. At some point, you're going to get thirsty. You're going to want to drink some water. This is not a moral failure that you ate any more than it's a moral failure that eventually you fall asleep if you stay awake long enough. Like, this is ridiculous. So, but go ahead. If you disagree and you think that people should just, starve themselves or something, go ahead and comment below. Tell me why. Tell me why you don't eat, ever. And if you guys like this kind of content, comment. Let me know if you want me to talk about it some more. And subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk about this some more. We'll discuss the psychology of shaming people and the psychology of eating, because really it's more psychology than it is anything else. People have a lot of reasons for why they eat, and they have a lot of reasons for why they eat, like why they choose the foods that they eat. So, and to me, I don't think it's a moral failure, and to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with you enjoying food, especially with people that you love. I actually will double down on that a million times over. You should enjoy food with the people that you love.